Commander Jack Harrison stood at the viewport of Europa Research Station, gazing out at the endless ice sheet that covered Jupiter's moon. Below that ice lay an ocean deeper than any on Earth, and in that ocean, they had found life. After 20 years in the Earth fleet, Jack thought nothing could surprise him anymore. He was wrong. "Commander, you need to see this," Dr. Olivia Martinez called from her station. The lead xenobiologist rarely showed excitement, but today her voice trembled. Jack walked over to her monitor. "What am I looking at, Doctor?" "Energy. Readings. From deep in the ocean. They're artificial, Jack." He leaned closer. The patterns pulsing across her screen were too regular, too structured to be natural. "You're saying..." "We're not alone on Europa," Olivia finished. Her dark eyes met his. "Something intelligent is down there. Something that uses technology." Jack took a deep breath. First contact. After all humanity searching the stars, the first aliens would be found in our own solar system, hidden under ice. "Get me Admiral Donovan," he ordered, "and assemble the team." 3 days later, Jack watched the submersible sink into the borehole. Lieutenant Ryan Cooper sat at the controls with Olivia beside him. The young tactical officer had volunteered immediately for the mission. The submersible carried no weapons. This was to be a peaceful scientific expedition. "Passing 200 meters, Ryan reported over the radio. "All systems normal." Jack paced the control room. Admiral Richard Donovan had ordered caution, but approved the mission. If intelligent life existed on Europa, Earth needed to know. "We're approaching the source of the energy readings." Olivia's voice crackled over the speakers. 1 kilometer below the ice now. Wait, there's something. The video feed showed it first. Lights in the darkness. Not random, but in patterns, spreading across what looked like structures. "My God," someone whispered in the control room. "It's a city." The structures were unlike anything human architects would design. They curved and spiraled, seeming to grow from the ocean floor rather than being built upon it. Lights pulsed along their surfaces in rhythmic patterns. "We're being scanned," Ryan reported. "Something is probing our vessel." "Hold position," Jack ordered. "Olivia, try the communication protocols we discussed." The research team had prepared for this moment, developing basic mathematical sequences to establish first contact. Olivia sent the signals. Simple prime numbers, basic atomic structures, universal constants. For long minutes, nothing happened. Then, a response came. The same mathematical sequences, mirrored back. "They understand." Olivia's voice was filled with awe. Over the next 12 hours, communication progressed rapidly. The aliens, whom Olivia dubbed Nautilians for their ocean home, seemed eager to learn. They absorbed Earth languages at an astonishing rate. "They're advancing too quickly," Jack told Admiral Donovan during their secure call. "Something doesn't feel right." "Your concerns are noted, Commander," Donovan replied, his weathered face serious on the screen. "But this is the most important discovery in human history. The Science Council wants results." Jack nodded, but his unease remained. 20 years of military service had taught him to trust his instincts. A week into communications, the first signs of trouble appeared. System errors plagued the station, files went missing. Equipment malfunctioned. "It could be the radiation from Jupiter," suggested Paul, the station's engineer. "It plays havoc with electronics." Jack wasn't convinced. After a particularly severe outage, he ordered a security sweep. What they found chilled him to the bone. "Someone's accessed our defense protocols," he told Olivia in his office. "Information about Earth's fleet movements, defense capabilities, colony locations, all of it copied." "The Nautilians?" Olivia asked, her face pale. "But how? They're underwater. They can't access our systems." "Unless we brought something back," Jack said. "Some kind of digital parasite on the submersible's computers." Before they could investigate further, alarms blared throughout the station. Jack rushed to the control room where Ryan was already at his post. "Massive energy spike from the ocean," the lieutenant reported. "Like nothing we've ever recorded. And the Nautilians have gone silent." The station shook. Lights flickered. "They're attacking the foundation pillars." The structural engineer shouted. "We're going to breach." "Evacuation protocol," Jack ordered, his voice steady despite the chaos. "Get everyone to the surface shelters." As the crew scrambled to evacuate, Jack downloaded all their research onto a secure drive. If they survived, Earth would need this information. The first major breach happened as they reached the emergency lift. Water at sub-zero temperatures rushed in, instantly freezing in Europa's atmosphere but creating deadly pressure waves. 3 technicians were lost before Jack could seal the compartment. "Get moving," he ordered the survivors. "Ryan, help Olivia with the research samples." On the surface, the emergency bunkers offered temporary shelter, built to withstand Europa's harsh conditions. They could keep the survivors alive for weeks. "Communications are down," Ryan reported, working frantically at the bunker's console. "The Nautilians are jamming us somehow." "Keep trying," Jack ordered. "We need to warn Earth." Olivia approached him, her face grave. "I've been analyzing the communication patterns. I think I know what happened." She showed him her tablet. "They weren't learning from us, Jack. They were extracting information. Every exchange was designed to get specific knowledge about Earth's defenses. So this was never about peaceful contact," Jack said quietly. "No. I think it was about invasion planning." Outside the bunker's small viewport, they could see movement on Europa's icy surface. Large shapes emerging from the boreholes, mechanical constructs of alien design gliding across the ice. "They're coming up," Ryan whispered. Jack made a decision. "Ryan, there's a backup communications array on the eastern supply depot. It's short range but might reach the Jupiter mining stations. Take 2 security officers and try to get it working." Young Lieutenant nodded grimly and selected his team. Jack turned to Olivia. "What do they want? Why attack now?" "I don't know," she admitted. "But from what I can piece together from our exchanges, Europa is just the first step. They've been here for centuries, building, preparing. This is just the beginning." As night fell on Europa's surface, a darkness deeper than any on Earth, they watched more alien machines emerge from the ice. In the distance, explosions lit the horizon where the supply depot stood. "Ryan's team got the message out," Jack said, recognizing the pattern of flashes. "Now we wait." Olivia looked at the alien constructs moving across Europa's surface, Jupiter looming enormous in the black sky above them. "What happens when Earth responds?" "War," Jack said simply. "The first interplanetary war in human history." In the cold bunker, the survivors of Europa Research Station huddled together, watching the alien forces gather strength on the icy surface of what had been, just days before, humanity's furthest outpost. The siege of Europa had begun. Captain Lisa Winters stood on the bridge of the USS Defiant, her eyes fixed on the massive form of Jupiter filling the viewscreen. Somewhere near that gas giant, on the icy moon of Europa, survivors of the research station were fighting to stay alive. "Status report," she ordered. "We're the first responders, Captain," her first officer replied. "The rest of the task force is 12 hours behind us." Lisa nodded. Admiral Donovan had dispatched her battleship immediately upon receiving the distress signal. The message had been brief but chilling. Unknown hostile aliens, research station, destroyed survivors in hiding, Europa was under siege. "Any response to our hails?" she asked. "Nothing from the main station," the communications officer said, "but we're picking up a weak signal from the surface. It's using old emergency protocols. Put it through." The voice that came through was distorted but recognizable as human. "This is Commander Harrison of Europa Research Station. Identify yourself." "Captain Lisa Winters, USS Defiant." "We received your distress call, Commander. What's your situation?" "Captain, you need to approach with extreme caution," Harrison warned. "The Nautilians have control of the moon's surface and our main facility. They've deployed some kind of energy, weapons around the primary boreholes." "Understood. We're sending scout drones ahead of our approach. How many survivors with you?" 14. We've been moving between emergency shelters. The aliens are hunting us." Lisa looked at her tactical officer. "Prepare a rescue operation. I want options within the hour." Chief Engineer Paul Griffin entered the bridge, his face grim. "Captain, you should see this." On his tablet was a drone feed showing Europa's surface. Massive structures were emerging from under the ice, alien machines bigger than anything humans had built in space. "They're harvesting the ice," Griffin explained, "converting Europa itself into some kind of fortress." Lisa studied the images. "How long has this been going on?" "Based on the scale, months or years before they attacked the station," Griffin said. "They've been planning this for a long time." The tactical officer interrupted. "Captain, we've got movement. Ships launching from Europa's surface." The view screen showed sleek vessels rising from the ice, dozens of them heading toward Jupiter's mining colonies. This isn't just about Europa, Lisa realized. Sound battle stations. And get me Admiral Donovan. On Europa's surface, Jack Harrison led his small band of survivors through the twilight landscape. Jupiter hung enormous in the black sky, providing just enough light to navigate the icy terrain. They had been moving for days, staying ahead of alien patrols. "The bunker's just ahead," Jack told Dr. Martinez. "If we're lucky, it still has working communications equipment." They had been jumping between emergency shelters, gathering supplies and looking for a way to help the Earth ships they knew must be coming. Olivia had been analyzing data on her portable devices, trying to understand their enemy. "I've been studying their energy signatures," she said quietly as they walked. "There's a pattern to their technology, a specific electromagnetic frequency they seem to avoid." "A weakness?" Jack asked. "Maybe. If we could generate that frequency at high enough power, it might disrupt their systems." They reached the bunker, a low dome half buried in ice. Ryan Cooper went ahead with 2 security officers to secure the entrance. "All clear," he called after a few minutes. Inside, they found power systems still functioning. Jack immediately went to the communications array. "USS Defiant, this is Commander Harrison. Do you copy?" "We read you, Commander," came the welcome reply. "This is Captain Winters. We're in Jupiter orbit but encountering heavy resistance. The aliens have deployed ships throughout the system." "Captain, Dr. Martinez has information about potential weaknesses in their technology." As Olivia transmitted her findings, warning lights flashed on the bunker's sensors. "We've got movement outside," Ryan warned. "Lots of it." Jack looked at the security feed. Alien figures were approaching across the ice, not machines this time, but the Nautilians themselves. In environment suits, they resembled tall, segmented creatures with multiple limbs. Their movements were fluid, graceful even in the low gravity. "They found us," Jack said. "Captain Winters, we're about to have company. If you're planning a rescue, now would be good." "Hold tight, Commander. Help is coming." In Jupiter orbit, the battle had begun. The USS Defiant faced off against alien vessels unlike anything in Earth's fleet. They moved with impossible speed, their weapons cutting through standard shields. "Evasive maneuvers," Lisa ordered as another energy blast rocked the ship. "Target their propulsion systems." More Earth ships had arrived, forming a defensive line between Europa and the inner solar system. Among them was the transport vessel carrying Colonel Nathan Howard and his Marines. "Captain," Howard's voice came through the comm. "My team is ready for surface deployment. Just give us a window. We'll punch a hole in their orbital defenses," Lisa promised. "Stand by." Dr. Vincent Shaw, the exobiology specialist who had joined the fleet, studied the data from Dr. Martinez. "Captain, if these readings are correct, we can modify our shield frequencies to better withstand their weapons." "Do it," Lisa ordered. "Griffin, work with Dr. Shaw." Chief Engineer Griffin nodded. "We can also reconfigure the main deflector to emit the frequency Dr. Martinez identified. Might give those aliens a headache." The battle intensified as more Nautilian ships rose from Europa. Earth vessels took heavy damage, but held the line. "Colonel Howard," Lisa called. "We've got your window. Launch now." Marine dropships shot toward Europa's surface, taking evasive action against alien fire. Howard's voice was steady over the comm. "We're going in hot, targeting the coordinates near Harrison's bunker." On the surface, Jack and his team had barricaded themselves in the bunker's inner chamber. The Nautilians were cutting through the outer doors. "We can't hold them much longer," Ryan said, checking the charge on his sidearm. Olivia looked up from her tablet. If I can access the bunker's power core, I might be able to generate that disruptive frequency. It could buy us time. Do it, Jack ordered. The outer door gave way with a screech of metal. Alien figures moved in the corridor beyond. Here they come, Ryan warned. A deafening explosion rocked the bunker, but not from the aliens. Through a breach in the ceiling came armed figures in Earth Fleet Marine armor. Commander Harrison? A voice called over external speakers. Colonel Nathan Howard, Earth Fleet Marines. Admiral Donovan sent us to bring you home. The Marines formed a defensive perimeter as more dropships landed nearby. Howard approached Jack. We need to move quickly. The Defiant is holding orbital position but taking heavy fire. Jack nodded. Dr. Martinez, grab your research. It's our best chance against these things. As they evacuated toward the waiting dropships, the sky above Europa lit up with the flashes of orbital battle. The Nautilians rushed to cut off their escape, but the Marines held them back. In the last dropship, Jack looked out at Europa's surface. The beautiful, mysterious moon that had once represented humanity's hopes for discovering new life was now a battlefield. This is just the beginning, isn't it? Olivia asked beside him. Before Jack could answer, the pilot's voice came urgently over the intercom. Incoming transmission from Earth Command. Alien ships have been detected near Mars orbit. The invasion was spreading. The gathering storm of interplanetary war had arrived. General Amanda Fisher stood before the giant display screen in Earth Fleet headquarters. The room was silent as military leaders from every nation watched the red dots representing Nautilian ships spreading through the Jupiter system. As of 0600 hours, the aliens have occupied 3 of Jupiter's moons and attacked 6 mining stations, she said. Civilian evacuations are underway, but we've already lost over 2,000 people. Secretary Douglas Grant, the civilian leader, coordinating Earth's response, stepped forward. What about Mars? The alien ships near Mars appear to be a scouting force, Amanda replied. Our defenses there are holding for now, but Jupiter... She gestured at the display. Jupiter is becoming their stronghold. Commander Jack Harrison and Dr. Olivia Martinez entered the room, still wearing the same clothes from their rescue 2 days prior. Admiral Donovan had rushed them to Earth for this emergency council. Commander Harrison, Dr. Martinez, Amanda acknowledged them. Your first-hand information about these Nautilians is vital. What can you tell us about their capabilities? Jack stepped up to the display. They're aquatic by nature but can operate in various environments. Their technology is beyond ours in many ways, particularly their energy weapons and propulsion systems. Olivia added. However, we've discovered they have a vulnerability to specific electromagnetic frequencies. Dr. Shaw and I are working with Dr. Eric Barnes from Weapons Research to develop countermeasures. Dr. Barnes, a tall man with tired eyes, nodded from across the room. We're modifying our shield systems based on Dr. Martinez's data. But we need time. Time is the one thing we don't have, Admiral Donovan said grimly. Intelligence suggests they're building something massive on Europa. We need to strike before they complete it. The meeting ended with a clear decision. Earth would launch a full-scale counterattack to retake the Jupiter system. It would be the largest military operation in human history. 3 days later, Lieutenant Kate Simmons climbed into the cockpit of her experimental stealth fighter. The hangar of the carrier ship was filled with activity as pilots prepared for battle. Nervous? Asked her wingman through the comm. Focused, Kate replied, running through her pre-flight checks. Her squadron had been assigned a critical mission to test the new weapons Dr. Barnes had developed against the Nautilian ships. The carrier's massive doors opened, revealing the swirling clouds of Jupiter below. In orbit around the gas giant, the main Earth fleet had assembled. Over 100 ships of all sizes, the largest military force ever gathered in space. Admiral Donovan's voice came through all channels. All ships, this is Admiral Donovan. Today, we fight not just for Jupiter but for Earth itself. These invaders thought we would be easy prey. Today we proved them wrong. Kate's squadron launched into space, their stealth systems making them nearly invisible to conventional sensors. Their target was a Nautilian command ship coordinating the alien fleet. Remember, Kate told her pilots, get close before firing. These new EM weapons have limited range. They slipped past the front lines of the battle, where larger Earth ships were already engaging the enemy. Explosions lit the darkness of space as energy weapons and missiles found their targets. On the bridge of his flagship, Admiral Donovan watched the battle unfold. Commander Harrison stood beside him, providing tactical advice based on his knowledge of the enemy. Their formations are changing, Jack observed. They're adapting to our attack pattern. As expected, Donovan replied. But are they taking our bait? The Earth Fleet's strategy was to appear vulnerable in one sector, drawing Nautilian forces away from Kate's squadron's approach to their command ship. "Sir," called out the sensor officer, "massive energy readings from Europa's surface." The view screen showed a beam of blinding energy shooting up from the moon's icy surface. It struck Jupiter's upper atmosphere, causing a chain reaction in the gas giant's radiation belts. "Evasive maneuvers," Donovan ordered, but it was too late. A wave of charged particles erupted from Jupiter, washing over the battlefield. Earth ships' electronics sputtered and failed. Communications went dead. In her stealth fighter, Kate fought to maintain control as her systems flickered. "Squadron, report." Only 3 of her pilots responded. The others were either disabled or dead. "Continue the mission," she ordered. "We might not get another chance." They pushed toward the alien command ship, which appeared less affected by the radiation wave. As they approached, Kate saw their target clearly for the first time. A massive, organic-looking vessel with pulsing lights along its hull. "Target locked," she reported. "Firing EM weapons." The modified missiles struck the alien ship, releasing concentrated bursts of the electromagnetic frequency Olivia had identified. The effect was immediate. The pulsing lights faltered, and the ship's movement became erratic. "It's working," Kate's wingman shouted. Kate targeted a second volley at what appeared to be the ship's main power node. "All fighters concentrate fire on my mark." Their combined attack tore through the now vulnerable alien vessel. As it broke apart, the coordination of the Nautilian fleet seemed to falter. Admiral Donovan, watching from his partially recovered flagship, seized the opportunity. All operational ships pressed the attack. On Earth, in the underground weapons lab, Olivia and Dr. Barnes monitored the battle through delayed transmissions. Their prototype weapons were working better than expected, but the aliens' attack on Jupiter's radiation belts had been a nasty surprise. "They're terraforming," Olivia realized suddenly, "studying the data from Europa. That's what they're doing to Europa, changing it to match their homeworld conditions. If they can manipulate Jupiter's radiation like this," Barnes said, "they could potentially make the entire system uninhabitable for humans." The door opened and Jack entered, looking exhausted. He had returned to Earth for additional briefings while Donovan led the attack. "The battle's still raging," he told them. "Donovan's forces have destroyed one of their command ships, but we've lost nearly 30% of our fleet." "Jack," Olivia said urgently, "I've figured out why they're here. Look at this." She showed him the analysis of Nautilian communications they had intercepted. "They're not invaders seeking conquest. They're refugees. Their home system was destroyed. Some kind of stellar catastrophe. They've been searching for a new home." "Refugees don't typically slaughter the natives," Jack pointed out. "Desperate ones might," Barnes said quietly, "if they believed it was their only option for survival." The battle for Jupiter continued for 3 more days. Earth forces managed to retake 2 of Jupiter's smaller moons, but Europa remained firmly under Nautilian control. Their weapon that harnessed Jupiter's radiation had changed the nature of the conflict. General Fisher called an emergency meeting of Earth's Defense Council. "We've achieved a partial victory," she reported. "Admiral Donovan's forces have pushed back the immediate threat to Mars and established a defensive perimeter around Jupiter, but the cost has been enormous." The casualty numbers were displayed on the screen. Thousands dead, dozens of ships destroyed. "And what about Europa?" Secretary Grant asked. "Still under enemy control," Fisher replied. "And now we know why they want it so badly. Dr. Martinez's analysis confirms they're transforming it to support their aquatic civilization. Europa's ocean is becoming their new home." Jack looked at the images of Europa, now surrounded by alien structures. The simple research Station where this had all begun seemed like a distant memory. "We need a new strategy," he said. "If we can't beat them in space, we need to take the fight to them, underwater." The fight for humanity's survival was entering a new phase. The battle for Jupiter had ended in stalemate, but the war was far from over. Commander Scott Bennett stood in the cargo bay of the transport ship, watching as his submarine was secured for the journey to Europa. It wasn't a typical submarine. This vessel had been specifically designed for the extreme pressures and cold of Europa's alien ocean. "Never thought I'd be taking a submarine into space," he said to engineer Alan Murphy, who was checking the vessel's systems. "Never thought we'd be fighting aliens either," Murphy replied with a tight smile. Yet here we are. Earth had managed to establish a small base on Europa's surface, a beachhead in the ongoing war against the Nautilians. After the partial victory, in the battle for Jupiter, military leaders had decided to take the fight underwater, into the domain where the aliens were strongest. "You sure this thing will hold up down there?" Scott asked, patting the hull of the submarine. Murphy nodded. "This baby can withstand pressures that would crush any Earth-ocean vessel. We've incorporated some of the alien tech we've recovered too. Should give us an edge." "We'll need every advantage we can get," Scott said. 3 weeks had passed since Admiral Donovan's fleet had established the defensive perimeter around Jupiter. In that time, Earth forces had landed on Europa, establishing a heavily fortified surface base. The goal now was to penetrate the ocean below and strike at the heart of the Nautilian colony. Later that day, Scott attended the mission briefing. Commander Jack Harrison, now sporting a scar from a recent battle, stood before a group of submarine commanders and Special Forces troops. "The surface is just the beginning," Jack explained, pointing to a 3D map of Europa. "Our real objective lies beneath the ice. We've drilled new access points here and here." He pointed to locations far from the aliens' main settlements. "Your submarines will enter through these points and conduct reconnaissance before we launch the main assault." Admiral Laura Hayes, commander of Earth's Pacific Fleet, now adapted for the Europa campaign, stepped forward. "This will be the first undersea combat operation in another world. You're making history, people." Dr. Julia Ramirez, a communications specialist who had been studying Nautilian language patterns, raised her hand. "I've made a breakthrough in understanding their communications. Each submarine will be equipped with a device that can intercept and partially decode their underwater signals. That could give us a critical edge," Scott noted. "There's one more thing you should know," Jack added. "Dr. Martinez's research has confirmed our initial findings. The Nautilians are refugees whose star system was destroyed. They're fighting for survival, just as we are." "Does that change our mission?" someone asked. "Our primary goal remains the protection of Earth and its colonies," Admiral Hayes said firmly. "But understanding their motivation might help us find a solution that doesn't end with one species exterminating the other." 2 days later, Scott's submarine slipped into the dark waters of Europa. The entry had been tense, a quick descent through a narrow borehole while avoiding enemy detection. Now they were in the alien ocean, surrounded by darkness deeper than any on Earth. "Sonar passive only," Scott ordered. "Let's not announce our presence." His crew worked in near silence, monitoring instruments as the submarine descended. Europa's ocean was nearly 100 kilometers deep in places, with pressures that would instantly crush an unprepared vessel. "Contact," the sonar operator whispered. "Looks like one of theirs, about 5 kilometers out." On the screen, Scott could see the alien vessel, organic in appearance, more like a living creature than a machine. It moved with incredible grace through the water. "Track it, but maintain distance," he ordered. For hours, they followed the alien craft, mapping its patrol route. Similar operations were happening across Europa's ocean, as Earth's submarine fleet gathered intelligence on Nautilian movements and defenses. In the command center at the surface base, Jack and Olivia monitored the submarine's progress. Dr. Ramirez worked nearby, analyzing the intercepted alien communications. "I'm starting to understand more of their language," she said excitedly. "It's not just what they're saying, but how they're saying it. Their social structure is fascinating. They seem to operate as a collective, but with distinct individual roles." "Anything we can use tactically?" Jack asked. "Yes. They have different castes: warriors, builders, thinkers, and they all answer to what translates roughly as the Survivors' Council. I think those are their leaders. Olivia looked up from her data. Their society must have been traumatized by whatever destroyed their home system. Their entire culture now revolves around ensuring survival. Just like us, Jack said quietly. Beneath the ice, Scott's submarine had penetrated deeper into Nautilian territory. They had avoided several patrols and were now approaching what intelligence suggested was a major settlement. Lights off, Scott ordered as they drifted silently forward. Passive sensors only. What they saw took their breath away. A vast city spread across the ocean floor, structures spiraling upward through the water. Bioluminescent lights pulsed along pathways between buildings. It was alien, but undeniably beautiful. My God, whispered the navigator. It's huge. Scott took careful note of defensive positions, power sources, and movement patterns. This information would be crucial for the planned assault. Sir, called the communications officer. We're picking up a lot of traffic on their channels. Dr. Ramirez's decoder is working. Scott listened to the translated fragments. Most were routine communications, but one caught his attention. Play that again, he ordered. The message, still partly garbled, mentioned something about a final weapon and surface elimination. We need to get this back to command, Scott decided. Prepare to... An alarm sounded. Sir, we've been scanned. 2 enemy vessels approaching fast. Evasive maneuvers, Scott ordered. Prepare countermeasures. The submarine surged forward, diving deeper into the alien ocean. The pursuing Nautilian craft were faster, gaining quickly. They're locking weapons, reported the tactical officer. Deploy. The EM pulse, Scott ordered. The submarine released a concentrated burst of the electromagnetic frequency that Olivia had identified as disruptive to Nautilian technology. One of the pursuing craft faltered, its lights flickering, but the other continued its approach. They've adapted, Scott realized. The frequency isn't as effective anymore. Sir, we can't outrun them, the navigator warned. Scott made a quick decision. Set course for that trench. We'll use the terrain to our advantage. The submarine dived toward a deep crevice in Europa's ocean floor. The Nautilian craft followed, firing energy weapons that shook the human vessel with near misses. Prepare. To release depth charges, Scott ordered. On my mark. They entered the narrow trench, twisting through its confines with barely meters to spare on either side. Now, Scott commanded. The submarine released its charges, which detonated behind them. The explosion caused a massive underwater avalanche, filling the trench with debris. The pursuing Nautilian craft was caught in the collapsing rocks, in Nior. We lose them? Scott asked as the submarine continued its escape. Yes, but we've taken damage, reported the engineer. Hull integrity at 70% and falling. Set course for extraction point 3, Scott ordered. Maximum sustainable speed. As they limped towards safety, Scott reviewed the intelligence. They'd gathered. The mention of a final weapon was deeply concerning. He needed to get this information back to the surface. At the Europa base, Jack was preparing for a mission of his own when Scott's damaged submarine returned. The news it brought changed everything. A superweapon? Jack asked, reviewing Scott's report. Something designed to eliminate the surface forces, Scott confirmed. My guess is they're tired of sharing Europa with us. Jack looked at Olivia and Dr. Ramirez. We need to know more about this weapon, and for that we need to infiltrate their main city. That's suicide, Admiral Hayes objected. We've seen their underwater defenses. Not if we use Engineer Murphy's new vehicles, Jack countered. They're designed to mimic Nautilian signatures. A small team could slip in undetected. And who would lead this mission? Hayes asked, though she already knew the answer. Jack's face was grim with determination. I will, and I'll need Commander Bennett, Dr. Martinez, and a small special forces team. As they prepared for the dangerous mission, Olivia approached Jack privately. This is more than just a military operation for you, isn't it? Jack nodded slowly. These aliens came to our solar system seeking a new home. I understand that. But they chose conquest over communication. If there's a way to end this without more bloodshed, we need to find it. And if there isn't? Olivia asked. Jack checked his weapon. Then we do whatever it takes to protect Earth. The infiltration mission had gone terribly wrong. Olivia Martinez stood in the command center of the Europa base, now bearing the rank of acting commander. The title felt heavy, unwanted, a reminder of Jack Harrison's sacrifice. Status report, she ordered, keeping her voice steady despite her grief. Admiral Cooper's fleet is in position, reported a young lieutenant. Ground forces are ready. Submarine units await your command. Ryan Cooper, once a lieutenant under Jack's command, had risen quickly to admiral after Donovan's death in the last space battle. Now he commanded what remained of Earth's fleet above Europa. 3 days had passed since Jack led the mission into the Nautilian city. Their team had discovered the superweapon, a massive device that could generate destructive waves through Europa's ice, capable of obliterating the human base. But during their escape, they were discovered. Jack had stayed behind to destroy a key power node, allowing the others to escape with the critical intelligence. His last transmission still echoed in Olivia's mind. Get everyone out. Make this count. She had made a silent promise to do exactly that. Begin the operation, she ordered. All units, execute Plan Trident. Plan Trident was humanity's final desperate strategy, a 3-pronged attack on the Nautilian stronghold. Cooper's fleet would engage from space, ground troops would assault through the ice, and submarine units would strike from below. In orbit above Europa, Admiral Cooper watched from his flagship as Earth vessels moved into attack position. Deploy Rodriguez's shield technology, he ordered. Sam Rodriguez, a civilian engineer who had joined the war effort, had developed a revolutionary shield system. It used the same electromagnetic frequencies that disrupted Nautilian technology, but reconfigured to protect human ships rather than just attack alien ones. Shields active across the fleet, his tactical officer confirmed. The Nautilians are launching their defense craft. All ships engage at will, Cooper commanded. Remember, our job is to keep their attention up here while ground and sea teams hit their main facility. The space battle erupted in brilliant flashes as energy weapons fired across the void. Earth ships, though outnumbered, held their own thanks to the new shield technology. On Europa's surface, armored troops advanced across the ice. They used special drilling vehicles to create new entry points to the ocean below, away from the known Nautilian defenses. Governor Elizabeth Moore coordinated civilian operations from the Jupiter colonies. The remaining mining stations had been converted to produce munitions and supplies for the war effort. The evacuation transports are standing by, she informed Olivia over the comm. If this fails, we're ready to pull everyone out of the Jupiter system. It won't come to that, Olivia replied with more confidence than she felt. Deep beneath Europa's ice, Commander Bennett led the submarine forces toward the alien city. They moved silently, using the intelligence gathered from the infiltration mission to avoid Nautilian patrols. Primary target in sight, Bennett reported. Moving into position, his fleet of 20 submarines surrounded the massive structure, housing the superweapon. Each vessel carried special charges designed to penetrate the alien material and destroy key systems. Wait, came a sudden order from Olivia. Hold your attack. What's wrong? Bennett asked. We're picking up unusual activity in the city, Olivia explained. Dr. Ramirez is detecting massive communications between different sections. Something's happening. In the Nautilian command center, Jack Harrison regained consciousness. He was surprised to be alive. The explosion that should have killed him had instead knocked him unconscious. The aliens had taken him prisoner. He was held in a transparent chamber filled with breathable liquid, uncomfortable but keeping him alive in their environment. Around him, tall, segmented aliens moved with purpose, their bioluminescent markings pulsing with patterns Dr. Ramirez would have recognized as language. One approached his chamber. Unlike the others, this one wore no weapons. Through the liquid, Jack heard a translated voice. You tried to destroy our sanctuary. Why? Jack struggled to speak through the dense liquid. You attacked us first. You're building a weapon to kill. Everyone on the surface. A defensive measure only, the alien replied. Your kind brings only destruction, like those who came before. What do you mean? Jack asked. We once welcomed visitors to our home world. They claimed to seek knowledge. Instead, they brought war that destroyed our star. We survived but learned. Others cannot be trusted. Jack suddenly understood. You think we're like them, that will destroy your new home. Are you not? The alien asked. Before Jack could answer, the chamber shook. Alarms sounded throughout the facility. Your people attack now, stated the alien. This proves what we believed. In the command center, Olivia received an unexpected signal, a communication request from the Nautilian city. Put it through, she ordered. The screen showed Jack, floating in a strange chamber, surrounded by aliens. Olivia, hold the attack. There's a chance for peace. Jack, you're alive. Olivia could hardly believe what she was seeing. The Nautilians, their homeworld was destroyed by another alien species. They attacked us because they thought we were like those who destroyed their world, Jack explained quickly. They're afraid of us. But there's a faction here that wants peace. Why should we believe them? Ryan Cooper asked, his face appearing on a split screen. They've killed thousands of our people. Because they could have killed me, but didn't, Jack replied, and because we both want the same thing, a home, safety for our people. Olivia made a decision. All forces hold position. Do not attack unless attacked. For tense minutes, human and alien forces remained poised for battle. Then the Nautilian transmission changed, showing a council of the aliens. We wish to speak, said the lead alien, its words translated by Dr. Ramirez's system. We have survived extinction once. We do not wish to face it again nor cause it for others. Perhaps we judged too quickly. As did we, Olivia replied. We propose a ceasefire, followed by proper negotiations. The agreement came slowly. Trust was fragile on both sides, but over the next hours, weapons were lowered. Jack was released, to act as an intermediary, his time among the Nautilians giving him unique insight into their ways. Days later, Jack and Olivia stood on Europa's surface, looking up at Jupiter filling half the sky. Representatives from both species had signed a preliminary peace treaty. It seems impossible, Olivia said. A week ago we were trying to kill each other. Fear does that, Jack replied. They feared we would destroy their new home, like the species that destroyed their original world. We feared they wanted to conquer Earth. The treaty's terms were straightforward. Europa's ocean would become a Nautilian colony, with human presence allowed on the surface. Both species would share technology and establish defense protocols against potential threats from beyond the solar system. Do you think it will last? Olivia asked. It has to, Jack said. We've both seen enough war. 6 months later, a new ship launched from Europa's surface. Unlike the military vessels that had fought the war, this was an exploration craft designed for deep space travel. Its crew included both humans and Nautilians. Jack watched from the command center as the ship accelerated toward the outer solar system. First joint mission, Olivia noted, standing beside him. Now an official ambassador to the Nautilians, she spent most of her time on Europa. Looking for new habitable worlds, Jack added, for both our species. The ship grew smaller on the screen, eventually becoming just another point of light against the blackness of space. The siege of Europa had ended not with the destruction of one side, but with a fragile hope that former enemies could become allies. In the vastness of the universe, two species that had nearly destroyed each other now looked to the stars together, ready to face whatever waited beyond.